the basic function of the transport layer along with the two protocol headers, the UDP and TCP. And also we have discussed the two numerical examples for on these topics. How like suppose if we get a sequence of octal number or hexadecimal number, in that case, how can we trace the different fields from that number? So we have discussed this point in the last class. Today we are going to start. I mean, we are going to move further today. If you have any doubt, you can tell me. In my last class, if you have any doubt, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'll move further and we'll start the new topic. Any one of you can respond. If you have any doubt, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'll move further.
No, sir, no doubt, sir.
So today I'm going to start the TCP connection establishment. I mean, how the two entities, how the two objects, how the two process establish a connection using the TCP uh, protocol. Okay, so TCP stands for, as I told you in the last class, TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. Okay, and it is useful in case of the reliable communication where the size of message is important. Using TCP, we can send a large size packet also. Now, we'll how the two devices following the TCP will establish a connection. So for this, if you have the PDF that I've shared with you for Unit 4, you can open it. And I'm also opening that PDF on my system. Okay. So here we have the TCP connection establishment. Let's we have two host A and B. Okay, left side is host A and the right side is host B as as a simple nomenclature. Let's say host A want to establish a connection with host B. That means at any point of time, the host A has something to share with host B. In that case, it will, if you can remember the no, the format of TCP header, there were 6 flags. The name of those flags were URG, the urgent flag, ACK, acknowledgement flag, PSH, push flag, and reset RST or reset flag. SYN stands for synchronization flag, and FIN stands for finalization. So here in this topic, when we want to establish a connection, I am using the keyword SYN, which indicates the synchronization. Synchronization means it is very much similar to connecting a mobile with your laptop. So synchronization is that much only, nothing more than that. So let's say the host A, the device A want to establish a connection with device B. In that case, it sends a request with the keyword SYN. SYN indicates the synchronization request, and we have the sequence number of this request as X. Okay, so all the whenever we are sending a packet from one side to another side, there should be a sequence number to recognize the packets. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand that which packet was delivered properly on the receiving end, and which packet is yet to be sent by the sender. So in that case, X is the sequence number of the request. So host A is making a request with a keyword SYN with a sequence number X. So SYN X is the packet which is sent by host A to host B for synchronization or establishment of a connection. Now, TCP, as I told you, that TCP follows the full duplex kind of connection. TCP has a full featured communication features, and it also supports the full duplex kind of connection. That means at any point of time, both the sites can transmit the data. So let's say we have a host A, which is actually initializing the communication with a sequence number X, uh, and no, as soon as your host B receives this request, it sends a acknowledgement corresponding to the sequence number X, that is ACKX plus 1. Okay, ACKX plus 1 is the acknowledgement corresponding to the sequence, the synchronization request with the sequence number X made by A. So as a reply of this, your host B is replying on this. And along with this, no, this part ACKX plus 1 is the confirmation of the request made by A. Also, because we are talking about the full duplex communication, so in that case, similar to the the request made by A, host B also need to make the same request. So B is sending a request with a sequence number Y. So SY and Y is corresponding to is the request made by host B. So as soon as your host A will receive this request and the acknowledgement, so there are two things, two objects coming from the side of B. One is ACKX plus one, that is the synchronization request is approved by host B, and also B is requesting to establish a connection from its side. So as a reply of this, the host A will reply ACKY plus one, which indicates the confirmation of the request made by host B, and also the sequence number X plus one means the sequence number X plus one be the next packet of the sequence. Next packet of the sequence, that is sequence number X plus one, is sent along with the approval of the request made by your host B. So this is how the connection is established by the two entities. I am repeating the topic. What is happening here? We are trying to establish a connection between host A and host B. We, because we are talking about the TCP system where we have full featured full duplex connection along with the reliability of communication. Reliability means both the parties must be agreed upon the connection establishment. So when your host A is sending a request to host B, host B is replying in terms of the sequence number X plus one. Also, it is sending its own request to establish a connection. And as a reply of this, A is providing the confirmation of its request, and also the packet corresponding to the this stream, the sequence number X. So now on this side, your host B will reply like it will send ACK ACKX X plus 2 along with the SEQY. So in this way, the communication will take place from both these sides. So it is very easy to understand that how the TCP entities are, establishing a connection. So this was the TCP connection establishment. Now, how the connection is terminated among the two TCP entities. So for establishment of connection, we were using the keyword SYN, and to finalize it or to terminate the connection, we are using the keyword FIN. FIN stands for finalize, just like the keyword that we have used in our one bit flag in TCP header format. So FINP stands for termination request of host A to B. Let's say if host A has completed all its data, and if it want to terminate the connection, it will send a request, say FINP to B. As a no, if we want to terminate the connection, if B approves A to terminate the connection, it will provide an acknowledgement ACKP plus one. The next the sequence number next to this one, and also because in the previous case when we were establishing a connection, so both the sides have requested to establish the connection. Similarly, both the sides must request to terminate the connection also. In this case, your host B is sending a request to terminate the connection with a sequence number Q. Now, as soon as your ACK P plus one has been received by host A, that means the connection from host A is terminated. A is free to terminate the connection, and before that, before terminating the connection, it will send an acknowledgement corresponding to the finalization request Q made by host B as a ACK Q plus one. So in the same way, like the connection was established, it will be terminated from both the sides. So here we have two parts. In both the cases, in the connection establishment and connection termination, Here we have phase 1, then phase 2, and then phase 3. Similarly here, in this case, we have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That is why it is also known as, this entire process is also known as three-way handshaking uh, system, or three-way handshaking protocol, in which both the sides, like in the morning when we greet someone, we say hello. Okay, we say hello, and we say hello, and if the receiver want to the other party want to reply to your request, or if that party also want to communicate with you, they will send you a hello. That means this hello from the other side means the request made by the first party is received, and also the second party want to participate in the communication. So I mean, both the parties are saying hello. That means the connection is established by both the parties, both the communicants. Okay, so this is how the TCP connection and termination is done. How the two parties can establish and terminate the connection in TCP system. Plus, you have any doubt, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'll move further to our next topic. If you have any doubt, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'll move further. Class, any one of you can reply on this. Hello? 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 Abhishek? Deepti?
अरे तो हम क्या करें तो केवल देख रहा बस
Am I audible to all? Hello?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
I mean, you people can reply chat box also. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next topic. That is the TCP window management. TCP window management means how the space is managed by the communicants when let's say we have two communicants, and if they are actually communicating, how the buffer space on both the side is managed. So here we have the diagram for this. So similar to the previous example, we have two hosts, host A and host B, and the first sequence number is 0. Let us consider the case where the host B has a space of 4K. 4K size is the buffer space on host B, and your host A is sending a data of the first packet. I mean, when the connection is established, host A is sending the first data segment of size 2K. Okay, so here we have 4K space on our side, this buffer at B, and sequence number is 0. That means from 0 to 2K, from 0 to 2K space is now occupied by the content sent by host A. Now this host B will reply back to host A as a confirmation of the receiving. Sequence number is 2049. That means immediately after the sequence number, that is 2K. 2K stands for 2048. So after 2048, the size available on host B is 2K. Class, understand this thing? After the sequence number 2048, the size available, or the buffer size available on host B is 2K. So now host B is replying in this way. It is now providing two information to host B. First one is the space available on its side, and secondly sequence number. So now host A is again replying in terms of the sequence number. That means the sequence number 2049 and size is again 2K. So now the entire data is filled after this event. I mean, as soon as your host B is receiving this particular segment of data, the entire space of 4K is now occupied. So after this, the communication will be the communication will be I mean, it will be stopped actually. Now because host B, after this host B will reply to host A, the size is 0. That means there is no space available on in the buffer of host B, and it cannot receive any packet further. Now this is the case when the processor of receiver B is busy in some other work and it is not able to process the data sent by host A. So, let's say after say some time t, the receiver processor process the data corresponding to sequence number 2k plus 1 to 3k. So 1k data is already processed by the processor of receiver's processor. So in that case, 1k space is free. So now if 1k space free, immediately after this, as soon as the 1k space free, the loyal host B will reply to host A that no 1k space is available, the size is 1k and the sequence number is 2049. So again the host A will reply back in terms of the size as 1k and the sequence number is 2049. So in this way the communication will take place, and the buffer or the window of the TCP and system will be managed by host A and host B. If you want, I can repeat the entire method. Initially, the 4K size buffer is free at host B. As soon as your host is sending us a data segment of 2K uh, from sequence number 0, that means from sequence number 0 to till 2K, this space is now occupied. Now, host B will reply back to host A that the available size is 2K, available size is 2K, and the sequence number from where the next entry has to be done is 2049. That means it up to 2048 is occupied, and now it is supposed to send corresponding to 2049. So it will send accordingly the sequence number 2049 and size of 2K. So now the complete buffer is occupied. If the processor is busy and if it is not able to process the data, now after this event, immediately after this event, the sending process must be blocked by the host B by sending a size 0 information to host A. Now, as soon as your host A will receive the size 0 information, it will block the sending at its end. Now, after some time, when the receiver's processor is processing some amount of data on this side, it will free say let's say 1k space on the buffer. So as soon as 1k space is free on the buffer, it will send a confirmation of the free space in terms of the size as 1k and the sequence number corresponding to this space is 2049. So as soon as it will receive the this confirmation of space and the sequence number, it will send 1k data of sequence number, from the sequence number 2049. So this is how the communication will take place between A and B, and this is how the buffer is managed. So class, I hope if there is, the topic is clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'll move further. If you have any doubt, you can tell me. I'll move further.
एक ही तो भेजे ना
Okay, so next is cryptography. So after this cryptography, we have very few content left, and we have sufficient time with us. So I will start cryptography. What is cryptography? As I have told you earlier also, when we were talking about the presentation layer. So now from cryptography, actually we are moving on to our layer number 6, and some topic of the connection establishment and the synchronization. We have already discussed the some function of the session layer, the connection establishment and termination. As I've told you, these are the two major responsibilities of your session layer. Now we are moving on to the cryptography corresponding to OSI. This is the task of your presentation layer, and when we are talking about the TCP, all these functions I mean, after the transport layer, we have only one layer in TCP that is called the application layer, which perform all the functions. So cryptography is what? Cryptography is a I mean, it is made up of two terms, crypto and graphy. Crypto stands for writing a secret word, and graphy means art. Wherever we have the term graphy, I will just like photography, biography, autobiography, and there are so many terms associated with that. So graphy means the art of doing. So cryptography means art of writing a secret code. Art means more more efforts you give in the process, better result you will get. So cryptography is nothing but writing a secret code for a given text or for a given message. So cryptography is the process of where why do we use this cryptography system in our communication? Because when the data is on link, communication link, it is actually not safe. Any attacker, any hacker, any cracker can attack on this data, and it can destroy or change the meaning of the content. So to protect the data, we need to apply the methods of cryptography. Also, we applied the cryptography. So this is the model of cryptography system. How does it look like? Cryptography is so we have say let's say we have a plain text P, the original content that we want to send to host B. On the sending end, this is the part of sender. So we are using one encryption algorithm. Encryption algorithm means an algorithm which has some steps to convert a plain text key into the secure data. Secure data means secure data is normally termed as ciphertext in cryptography. Ciphertext or ciphertext, CIPHER, and this the encryption algorithm alone cannot do this work. It needs some specific keyword uh, as a combination to perform this task, and this keyword is known as encryption key. So encryption key K and encryption algorithm both are both are combined together and both are applied together to convert a plain text P into the ciphertext. Ciphertext, the notation is EK of P. EK of P means the plain text is encrypted with key K. The plain text P is encrypted with key K. So now this ciphertext is transmitted over the link. This is the communication link over which we are transmitting the content. And on this link, as soon as the data is on this link, it is actually not safe. Not safe means any hacker, any attacker, any intruder can attack on this data. It can change the meaning, but because the encryption key is a secure keyword, and to decrypt the data, to decode this data, and encryption can be considered as an encoding method. Encoding means we have transformed the data into an secure form. So as long as the data is encrypted, the attacker or hacker cannot change the meaning. They cannot read the data. They cannot change the data. So on the receiving end, when the data arrives on the receiver, uh, we use let's say we are using a reverse method. Let's say if the encryption algorithm has step number 1 to step number 10, in that case, we will use the step number 10 to step number 1 in decryption algorithm along with the corresponding key of, the encryption key, corresponding sequence of encryption key, that is called decryption key. Class, I'll repeat, encryption algorithm and decryption algorithm are the reverse process. Like if the encryption algorithm follows step number 1 to step number 10, then decryption algorithm will follow the step number 10 to step number 1 in sequence. And we are using a decryption key corresponding to this sequence K. And as a combination of this, when we are passing this EK of P to this decryption algorithm in combination with the decryption key, we will get the plain text P. That is, how do we denote this thing? It is the output of this is dk of ek of P. Decryption of this, decryption of decryption with key k of the plain text encrypted with key k. Okay, so this is the decryption process, and as a result of this, you will get the plain text P on the receiving end. So this is how the encryption and decryption is performed on the receiving end. Now, I mean, when we discuss these topics in the class, so I discussed the definition of hacker and cracker also. And sometimes in the interview they ask the what are the differences between hacker and cracker. So hacker is a trained programmer, and attacker is, I mean, it is a untrained kind of programmer. It applies all possible kind of attacks over the data, and that all possible kind of attacks are called brute force attack. Okay, so brute force technology is applied. So here we have some I mean, terminology. That is, one is plain text P, the original text or the original data. Then we have encryption algorithm. Encryption algorithm is a step to convert uh, plain text into the encrypted form, and to help or to make the data more secure, we are using a encryption key. There are some limited number of encryption algorithm in the world. Last, I'll repeat, there are some limited number of algorithms in the world, but we have infinite number of the encryption key. We can create our own encryption key, and as a combination of encryption algorithm, the available encryption algorithm, and the unique encryption key, we can secure our data in a better format. And the reverse is also true. The reverse process, the decryption algorithm, along with the corresponding encryption key, corresponding to the say this pattern encryption key, we had decryption key, and we applied the combination of both of these to convert this in encrypted content into the plain text or the original text. This is the general model of encryption. So now, what are the two types of, what are the two major categories of encryption? We have two different type of encryption: symmetric and asymmetric encryption. So, symmetric encryption means when the two keys, I mean, when the sender and receiver are using same keys for encryption and decryption. The same keys are used for encryption and decryption. It is known as symmetric encryption. Okay, only the difference is encryption algorithm and decryption algorithm. When K is and K dash are same, the encryption is known as uh, symmetric encryption. We are using a term here called KDC. KDC is your key distribution center. It is a secure medium of sharing the keys between the sender and receiver. So when the keys are same, encryption is known as symmetric encryption. When the keys are different, it is also known as asymmetric encryption, or also known as the public key crypto system, that we will I mean, in this case we can easily understand this thing. Here we have, I mean, in the previous example we were using the same keys, both for both the process K and K dash. We are using the same key. Here in this case, in this asymmetric encryption, we are using two different keys. So now the difference is, here we are using the keys created by your receiver. Now what we are doing here, your receiver is creating a pair of key. One of the keys shared with the sender, and the other key we are keeping safe with us. KP stands for public key and KR stands for private key. Both the term public and private are starting with the term P. So that is why, to create a difference, we are using P and R. I mean, public and private. So the second term is used here. So KP means public key and KR means private key. Public key means a keyword which is shared among the set of users, and KR is your own secret code. It is very much similar to your mail ID and password. You share your mail ID among the participant, but you do not share your password. So your password is the private key, and your email ID is your what do you call it, the public key. So whenever host A want to send some data to host B, it will use the public key of host uh, B for encryption, that is called KP. So we are producing the ciphertext EK of P with EK of P. That means the public key of receiver is used for the encryption, and for decryption we are using the private key. So DKR of K of P. So it will give you the original text P. So this is how the asymmetric encryption is performed. I'll repeat this thing. Encryption, for encryption, we are using the public key of the receiver, and receiver is creating a pair of keys. One is called a public key and one is called the private key. Public key is shared among the set of users, and private key is kept secure with the sender. So whenever host want to send some information, it will use the public key of the sender to public key of the receiver to encrypt the data, and on the receiving end to decrypt it, we'll use the private key. Just like your email ID, like if you want me to send your mail, you will send your email ID to me. I will use your email ID, okay, to encrypt the data, and as soon as the mail will arrive on your mailbox, you will use your email ID and your email, your password and email ID as a combination to decrypt or to open the mailbox and to read the content. This is the asymmetric encryption. After this, I'll discuss in my next lecture that we'll have on Monday or Tuesday probably. Okay. So if you have any doubt till now, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll close the session for today, and um, we'll resume our session on Monday or Tuesday. If you have any doubt, you can tell me. Lastly, if you have any doubt, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'll move further.
No, sir, no doubt,
Welcome,
sir.
Vikas.
But how can we encryption in a custom networks?
Sorry.
I want to know just how can we implement this encryption custom
Your voice is not clear. Arendra,
Let me take.
your voice is not clear. Hello. Hello. Arendra, you can write your doubt if you have any doubt. Hello. Uh, we will discuss. This is the basic structure of the encryption decryption. Okay. When we will uh, when we will talk in detail about the encryption algorithms like DES and there are number of encryption decryption algorithms like DES, we have RSA, and we have many more algorithms like this. So when we will discuss all these things, I'll make it clear to you how we can implement all these things. Okay. I mean, this is just the block diagram of encryption decryption. We have not went into the detail of this. Uh, in my next lecture, I'll discuss about the algorithms also, all the algorithms. Okay, Rin. I hope this makes you clear about the topic. So with this, I'll complete my today's class. We'll meet again on Monday and Tuesday. Thank you very much.